Hello, everyone out there, and welcome back to another episode of WIP Workshop here on RPGs Uncovered. This is a special occasion for me tonight. This is actually pre-recorded, so for any of you watching this now, hello from the past. It's 3 a.m. where I'm at, but that is because I am super excited to talk to my new pal here, who I believe is 14 hours ahead of me on the other side of the world. So we're making this work. Drop any questions you might have otherwise put in the Twitch chat down in the comments, and I'll see what I can do to address those. And also, because it's super late, I'm going to try to keep myself awake and on topic. But I am super excited to talk about Cloudbreaker Alliance tonight. It was pitched to me, and I've seen it described as such across the socials as Star Trek meets Final Fantasy, and I latched onto that hard. So we set this up real quick, and I am super excited to talk about it. But before we get into that, I need to introduce my new friend here, CJ Leung. Thank you so much for joining. I've taken a look at some of the other stuff you've done, and I see you have not one, but two YouTube channels. Uh, the Don't Stop Thinking on YouTube, which is another great resource out there for RPG tutorials and stories and such. So if you like what I'm doing here on RPGs Uncovered, go check out Don't Stop Thinking because they have some great animated tutorials and animated stories over there. And you're also part of Cool History Bros, another YouTube channel, which I have not gotten around to watching anything, but as somebody who has studied history myself, I actually have a degree in ancient history and archaeology. I'm going to be checking out some of those videos. But we are not here to talk about either of those things. We are here to talk about your upcoming new game, Cloudbreaker Alliance. So, hello, CJ. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks. Thanks a lot for having me. Right. It should be a fun night. And to everyone watching, yeah, good day from down under because I'm in Australia. If you're wondering why the time zone difference. But yeah, other than that, I've been having a good day. So I guess I'm ready for any question that you would ask, Jack.
Excellent, excellent. Well, let's start off with I like to get to know the creator behind the game before we start talking too much about the nitty-gritty in the game. So, on top of what I've already described in our little intro here, I also see that you posted a number of things. You're a TTRPG author on Drive-Thru, right? So
Mhm.
this is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, your first like full-blown TTRPG, but you've authored plenty of other things in the past, so you obviously know what you're doing.
Right, right. Well, yeah. And it does help that I've been a bit of a like evangelist for all the different other large name brands like D&D and Call of Cthulhu. Like Doctor Who, all that sort of stuff. Because I've been uh, part of the organized play system of like D&D and the short-lived Call of Cthulhu one,
Hmm.
which was interesting. I'm also keep like running like regular games to the public all the time, having new players in and out. I have been the what's a tabletop instructor at PAX for three. Yeah, three times, not four. So I have a lot of experience like teaching games and also learning games. Just get it reaching out to new people pretty much, and
Excellent.
it's a lot of fun. Sometimes just watching all the different people from different background learning things for the first time, even though sometimes they are 40 years old or some of them are little kids, having them on the same table, seeing them interact, it's really interesting to me. I
Hmm.
love that sort of stuff.
I can definitely relate to that. Coincidentally, we do a lot of the same thing, though you've been doing it longer and with more success.
All right.
But yeah, I'm right there with you. I love learning new games. I love teaching new games, and I love introducing new people to new games and seeing the joy and creativity and enthusiasm that it sparks. So how about you tell us a little bit about how you got started in TTRPGs? What led you up to creating this game?
Uh, well, it's a really long story, but how far back do we want to go? It's like from learning my first game because I've been eyeing like D&D for such a long time. But the problem is, I was originally from Southeast Asia. I've my family moved around all the different places. I know D&D, but we don't have like D20 and anything, so we can't really start to play.
Mm,
And when it was only when I came to Australia there was Pathfinder, and that's when I started to be, the playing to actually play because we have the tools there. And eventually I moved on to 5e and Call of Cthulhu and everything else. It's a bit of a long process to get here. And that's why the first thing that cannot be changed about my game is the rule that you only need 2d6s to play it. That is something I cannot change because this is part of the principle. Everybody should be able to have access to this game. And yep, that's right. Yeah. Because even if you're out somewhere far away, or even like in a rural area of Australia, rural area of United States, I want people to be able to play this. If you have even a board Monopoly board, you can play it because it uses 2d6s. Um, and just to increase the experience, you can use tokens, which sometimes you can just use pebbles. Really,
hmm
tokens are can be anything. Doesn't have to be something that you buy from us. So that adds a bit of complexity and accessibility too. That's the
Yeah,
first rule. Yeah.
I never thought about that as an accessibility concern, because I obviously grew up where dice were a pretty normal thing. I started out fairly young with Magic the Gathering, so a D20 or life counter sort of thing was always the norm. But yeah, now that you think about it, anybody who owns most any board game will have the tools they need to start playing this. I love that, and I love that you thought about that from an accessibility standpoint.
Yeah, so really, just like thinking about my old past self, I just want that kid to be able to play this
hmm
game easily too,
Beautiful.
right? Yeah. Starting from there, and eventually also just creates part of it is you know because I've moved a lot from countries to countries. People have different like pop cultural references. Star Trek is something that a lot of the nerdy kids watch. Because in all the different cultures I've been around to, there's something is relatively constant, which is the nerd culture,
Mm,
the subculture where I can pretty much get in touch with all the different people in. Even if you are from Singapore, Indonesia, or whatever, there is the various American pop culture stuff like Star Trek, Star Wars, and there's the Japanese anime, all the different sort of anime. So it is really a platform of like connecting people and let their imagination shine because people want to like imagine themselves as one of the characters they have played in or something like that. So I am creating this sort of like system with a bit of a mesh of a lot of things, but it is really a tool for them to start like imagining things, to cross all the different like popular culture zones, so that there is an avenue for them to combine their imaginative prowess, their imaginative sort of like landscape, pretty much. And and also due to my interest in history, I get to put a lot of the interesting things in the setting. For example, the Xiongnu people, the Huns, and also the Mongols and so on. Their sort of like civilizational and cultural sort of like influence can be felt in Uruk, one of the regions. In If you can see the map, it's at the lower left. It is combined with the Western steampunk sort of like setting. So you have an orcish cowboy and like trollish horse riders with bows and arrows, like fighting against some hive mind insectoid creatures and all that sort of stuff.
mm,
So all the different regions have pretty much their own uh, traditional, you would say, more of a like existential enemy, something that sort of like been preying on them for like thousands and thousands of years. So their culture and civilization is built on uh, the geography, local geography, the existing power resource, and also external threat. So since in the world setting, a cataclysm happened 2,000 years ago. All the different people are separated into their own little niche, so they are able to develop a very unique like sort of like culture. So it's almost like it's their own planet pretty much.
Hmm.
That's based on this three big sort of like background uh, uh, background thing, and this is also the Galapagos effect that's being applied to all these different people. Um, if maybe some listeners are not familiar with the Galapagos effect, it's sometimes what Japanese call their culture, because their culture developed very uniquely because they are an island country, very much isolated from the rest of the world.
Hmm.
So a lot of that technology develops according to their own local needs. This term also comes from Darwin's visit to Galapagos Island, that he and he just see how all these different species are actually the finches. They are evolving according to their own islands' needs. So even the same species across different islands, there are all these little differences. Sometimes shorter beak, longer beak, depending on the food sources and so on. Um, this sort of like Galapagos effect just lets them create a very unique culture. And then 2,000 years later, for some unknown reason, bam, some of the barriers are gone. There's a mystery there. And also, all these people who have developed sort of like the elves have this futuristic Star Trek like technology that uses magic and magic tech science. And you got steampunk people, and you got like martial artists, and you got like a samurai and Templar at the islands. This kind of like cultural mesh is going to be really interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah, I've taken a look at some of the stuff you sent me, and it looks very interesting. I can just hearing you talk and just looking over what you've sent, you can see that there's a vibrance to the regions you've set up.
Mhm.
So I can't wait to see more about that. I think that's a great segue to move into talking a little bit more about the setting of this game and actually
Mhm.
properly introduce Cloudbreaker Alliance. That
Right.
cataclysm you mentioned about 2,000 years ago brought
Mhm.
in the Cloud Wall, correct?
Mhm.
And
That's correct.
the setting of Cloudbreaker Alliance now is that cloud has receded, revealing these four regions. The
Mhm.
people of these regions have banded together in some way to create this Cloudbreaker Alliance to go out
Mhm.
beyond the cloud wall and
Mhm.
go boldly where no one has gone before.
Yes, yes. Uh, that's it. That's pretty much it. And also, the idea is that I've created this. Um, just I'm creating something that is really thick in lore and everything as a base. I don't want to force this to everyone. I just want to create this sort of a model. The idea is to create this cloud wall and the sea of cloud out there is for other people to be able to also create their own uh, civilization, their own culture, and their own people group, and so on. So that's part of the plan. And I'm also like having quite a few people in the in the test play group already, creating their own setting, their own thing. And then it would be quite interesting if all these different like players created their own setting, added a lot of lore, and then have just allow them to be able to clash or combine with each other, and
Mhm.
just to see how they react with each other. That's um, uh, my design principle is the open circle sort of design. So I don't complete the circle. I create a bit of a gap for other people to fill in, or they can just like create a whole different like large image, a whole different picture out of the open circle that I've created. Um, so I'm just trying to like kickstart people's imagination with by showing them what is possible. And any other like setting question? Do you have any specific questions you want to ask?
Well, I see this as an interesting new take on the
Mhm.
post-apocalyptic setting, because as you said, it's after a cataclysm. All of these different people have been isolated from each other for a long time, developing their own cultures, their own technology, their own expectations of the world around them,
Mhm.
and then all of that breaks, which is very interesting when the cloud wall comes down. And I'm a huge fan of Star Trek. Anyone who's been following this channel probably knows I'm in my own Star Trek show, and preparing. I star in a Star Trek show, and then I'm preparing one of my own. So I am quite familiar with the with setting up new worlds and new peoples and new places to explore, new problems to set people against. And I really like that idea that, as you said, you create this little exposed microscope of the setting that you want to encourage, but then
Right.
there's this cloud
Yep.
wall that obscures but does not forbid the
Mhm.
exploration of something that is entirely your own and something that is entirely new and creative and interesting.
Mhm.
So I love that concept. I think that's a great idea. Uh, let's see. Let's talk before we get too much into the mechanics, which from what I understand
Mhm.
are quite light and accessible. What sort of well, we've talked a bit. We've had a lot of reference to Star Trek, and it's been teased Star Trek meets Final Fantasy. So where does that Final
Mhm.
Fantasy aspect come in? Talk a
Right.
little bit more about the characters and the things that they can do.
Okay, yeah. Well, the Final Fantasy aspect, it's mostly Final Fantasy V. That's one of the series where they are able to swap all the different classes.
Mm,
So, in terms of like character option, there are three main options: life form, character quirks, and class disciplines and classes. So, life form, something you cannot change; you are born into that. Oh yeah, and by the way, we use life form because uh, some of the creatures are going to be quite outlandish because of the artificiums. This
mm,
is, in various East Asian cultures, there are objects that have gained life, and in Japan they called it tsukumogami, and in Korea they call it dokebi, and but they have a different sort of like cultural beliefs and understanding about those. But it's just that there is something similar. Uh, how do you classify these objects as species? Because at first I was using race and then went on to species, and eventually I go up all the way until the life taxonomy.
mm,
So and it also allows people to play as something really different, because the other idea we have is that you play as a sentient sword and then you possesses people with it.
mm.
And after you die, you just change host, uh, that sort of thing. Or you can even play like a parasite, like the ones from what's it called, the Stargates, Gaul or
The
something.
Goa'uld.
Gaul,
Yeah,
yeah, that sort of thing. Because that's that allows for a lot more different uh, room to play with.
yeah.
Okay, sorry. Back to the three character options. Life form, something you cannot change. Character quirks, something you develop and you can change eventually. And classes, something you can change easily. As long as you have gained rank in those classes, you can swap them around. So, for example, if you are a spellcaster, you need to tank a bit. You can swap into your sort of like a, Templar, sort of like a, Templar setup and all that sort of thing.
Mm,
So it leaves quite a lot of options. All the different classes have a very small set of abilities. So once you learned like about five of them, that's it. Uh, in four ranks, you should be able to learn all the special, unique skills. But rank five, six, and seven improves on that, so that if you don't want to change too many class yet, you can stay with a certain class until you have 8 ranks or 8 levels as a character, and you jump onto another class, which could be advanced class like paladin or avenger, that sort of thing.
Mm.
So part of design involves a lot of like managing learning curve. It's also it's a sort of pedagogical design where I manage all the things that they need to learn as they go along. If they don't want to learn, if they're rather slow at learning, there is a way of them to like maintaining quite a few, just improve all their small selection of skills pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So this is and also with the Final Fantasy thing, there is the Spirit Burst ability, where in combat or like any other situations, because in this game we don't just have combat situations, we also have escape situations or chase situations, that sort of thing. In those situations, you gain spirit tokens at every turn, and also when you defeat enemies. By which you can do by reducing that hit point to 0 or neutralize them. For example, if there is this sort of like scorpion-like creature, Acrobumulu, when it loses half its hit points, it is faltering and it just gains this desire to just really kill the players. It unleashes its stinger, a really large stinger. It deals a massive amount of damage, but at the same time, with danger comes opportunity. If it reveals its stinger, you can just use your brute force to grab it and pull it out, or use your mechanics kit and pull it out, with one of your wrenches.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sort of stuff.
I was looking through some of that stuff, and I believe that that scenario is the one you use on the Kickstarter for your combat
Yep.
tutorial.
Mm,
I
yep.
watched that. It was well, I could definitely see the influence
Mm,
from video games like Final Fantasy or from
mm,
say Fire Emblem. I really liked in the brief moment when the stat block came up and you were talking about
mm,
how different enemies differentiate in the different stages that they're in. I really like the idea that it's a very narrative, very flowing, very cinematic sort of combat
mm,
situation that you can jump into. That is not just about beating down an HP bar. There's a lot more to it. There
mm,
are stages to it when the enemies
mm,
falter or different
mm,
conditions that need to be met, different ways that you can interact with
mm,
their special abilities or how your special abilities or skills can affect the enemy in different ways. So it
mm,
looks like from that one stat block
mm,
on the tutorial that there's a lot of different things you can do in combat that are
mm,
facilitated by the system as a whole and not just from
mm,
your own creativity or from a drop down list of special abilities that you might get
mm,
from your class or whatnot. So it looks like it mixes a very easy and very accessible uh, you know, basic dice mechanic, along with facilitating the creativity, facilitating creativity with all those different things, the stat block. And
right.
another thing I really liked about that tutorial was your open book policy, where you encourage
Mm,
players to look at the monsters, analyze them. That's one of the tactics that you can
mm,
use, one of the abilities that you can use
mm,
as a character. So I like that combat or conflict turns into sort of a way to solve a problem as opposed to just beating down different health bars. I'm not sure I have a question in there. I just found it
oh,
a fascinating and looks like very
right.
enjoyable gameplay mechanic.
Mm. Thanks. Yeah, and there is also a lot of like influence from wuxia fiction. If people are unfamiliar with that, it's the sort of like historical martial arts fiction in from Hong Kong and other parts of China.
Hmm.
It's uh, it's very much because there is a very social element to it. Because in combat, they just don't say duel, we fight, that's it. Because there is a lot of like consideration on the people's background and also their social standing. Sometimes the weaker fighter, will have a friend, pretty much like their wingman, just say, "Hey, you are a really a respectable this powerful master from this sort of faction. If you fight against weaklings like us, you'll just embarrass yourself." So there is a lot of like social situations, and they would sometimes go to them and say, "Hey, let's just say that if I can withstand like 3 of your strongest attacks, I win. How about that?" So it turns into a bit of like contest, a bit of like a mind game.
Hmm.
So this is the elements that I'm also bringing in. How bringing you can bring in not just like uh, uh, engineering situation where you just like pull the tail or something like that. There's also the social elements. If your enemy really is really just trying to attack you to gain a lot of money, maybe it's just, hey, there is a bank over there that you can rob. They are about to close right now. Why don't you just go there? So it
Love it.
leaves you room with other ways of resolving the situation.
No,
Yeah.
I love that idea. As a lot of people do, I started out, or at least played a lot of D&D, and that's something that you can really easily fall into with D&D and other games like that, where you're just kind of trading blows back and forth. So as a
Mhm.
DM, I have long spent a lot of time trying to find other creative ways for conflict to be resolved, whether it's escaping from something, outsmarting something, solving a puzzle during a fight, and it looks like that very thing is built into the actual design of the game, which I really enjoy. So I see in the material you sent me that it is not just about defeating your enemy. You can of course whittle down that health bar, but they also have their own morale system set up. So as you defeat enemies, as you deal big blows, as you use your spirit tokens, you can sort of trade spirit and morale back and forth, which I really enjoy, leading to a number of situations where the enemies might run away, or you might chase them off, or you might accomplish this conflict in a way other than just killing the enemy.
Yeah, it's also practically inspired by actual wars.
Mm.
In most wars, you don't just kill all the people. This is not video games.
Hmm.
Usually, when they lose about like 15 to 20% of the people, if you see like in a group of 10, if you see 2 people are killed, you better leave.
Yeah, yeah.
Most wars are won by routing the enemies.
Hmm.
They don't kill all of them. So this is also part of the real life situation that I'm bringing in, just to let people know that uh, sometimes a real life is less like video games.
Of course.
Yeah,
Of course, yeah. Enemies should want to live. All those all
yeah,
those little goblins running around with their little rusty knives, they're not just gonna throw themselves at you. They want to survive. They have little goblin children to go back and take care of. So I
yeah.
really like that consideration is built into the game, and that combat or conflict is more than just a whole bunch of HP
Mhm.
bars.
Right. Yes, and also with the morale token, it is possible to use them to boost their the enemy. For example, because sometimes the morale token, the most common use is to regain half hit points,
Mm.
so that pretty much they can uh, you can keep pretty much the whole enemy, 5 of them, up all at the same time, so that it provide sort of like a pressure on the players. But once all the morale is reduced, gone, they will all leave. They'll just their morale just collapse and their side loses. But you can also use the morale tokens to give them an edge on their attack. So roll twice, pick the best results. So uh, just to change the dynamics a bit, if you want to apply extra pressure on the players. This is just like in some wars. People want to like charge. They committed too much on the first charge, bam, 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 and then they use all their morale just to attack with edge, and just attack really fiercely. But then they realize that the enemy line is not getting pushed back. They start to get really worried. Then when they like get hits, or like a few of them, just like maybe one or two dies, and they just really run back very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it just creates a bit of like sort of like ebb and flow of combat. So it just uh, it gives a bit more personality to the enemy group attacking you. That too.
Love it. Love
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah, so we've talked a bit about spirit and morale tokens. They can be used for
Mhm.
various different
Right.
things.
Mhm.
There's also I believe there was another sort of was it
Mhm.
danger token or something like that for like boss enemies?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, the danger token is similar to their spirit tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So as they gain danger token, they would be able to unleash their special attacks. Um, uh, there are the default tokens. So it means that in any situation you can elevate one of the enemies as a boss if you want to, of course. um, the boss enemies uh, gets 2 turns in one round, one at their normal sort of turn, and one at that turn -5. So, so at every round they move twice, and they also gain danger token pretty quickly. By default, if they have 3 danger token, if they land that attack, you can spend 3 tokens to turn it into a crit.
Mm,
Or by default, if you have 5 danger tokens, you can spend it, and for that one turn, all their attacks would crit. So
mm,
it's very dangerous. But for uh, some special enemies, they would have a special danger burst. So, for example, like one of them may be able to just create hallucinations that affect the whole area, and people would start to lose their MP. Because in this game, there is hit points and also mind points. If they lose either of them, they would go down, they would collapse. But they would still not die yet. They would die when they lose all their resolve.
mm,
Resolve is has multi-purpose. It is used as a buffer for your life, so that if your hit points is reduced beyond 0, you take the damage in resolve damage. And resolve is also the bank for you to recover your hit points and MP when you're taking a break. So if you have like spent a really long day using a lot of your resolve, uh, just recovering your hit points and MP, taking rests, when you come across a really strong enemy, you become more vulnerable to death,
mm.
something like that.
Love it. Love it.
Uh, yeah, yeah, and with some of the enemies is that it also gives them a bit of like a strategy too for the GM. So, for example, there is this boss. He's just waiting at the back. He's not attacking you. Is using his uh, major action just to gain an additional danger token. So you
Mm-hmm.
create tension there. That's the Alfred Hitchcock principles. Tension is, surprise only cause you fear for 1 second. Tension is a longer sort of fear.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the player to see the danger token. I'm building up something devious here.
Mm-hmm.
Better feel the fear. That's just keep building up the danger tokens, and then when you sometimes you can also spend a morale token to gain an additional danger token to surprise the players. Hey, I'm just gonna like use this special now. I'm sacrificing a bit of like morale token just to mess with you,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing.
That was actually going to be my next question. You preempted me on it, which I love. That's something else you talked about in the intro video on Kickstarter, and I see there's a lot of really quite ingenious ways that you built in for GMs and even players to an extent to to move that gauge between suspense and sheer action going forward.
Right.
I like that there's you can see a number of these different resources being built up by both player and GM, built up and spent, so you can see that slow but inevitable tick of danger tokens, and you can see how the enemy morale is going down, or the enemy can use some of their morale to do, as you said, a real quick burst of something scary. And of course,
Right.
the resolve there being different ways that your character can also feel, as you said, closer to death after a long, arduous day of adventuring. So there's a lot of really nice mechanics in this game that add to and help facilitate narrative and cinematic storytelling during combat, which I love, because combat in a lot of other games can get kind of drawn out. But in this, there's so many different ways that the players can interact with the enemies can interact with the players, and the GM can show in a very cinematic way all of these different things that are happening. I assume you took a lot of inspiration from, the things you've said already, different television shows, books, manga. Um, you reference Alfred Hitchcock a lot. Is that a
Sorry.
particular area of study for you?
Uh, well, back when I was doing film studies, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's com- I'm not especially uh well first. I'm not a major scholar in Alfred Hitchcock, but I've watched a lot of his movies, and I just like uh there is something that for a long time I don't quite understand. It took me a really long time until I, not just watch his movie, read about his commentaries and everything. That's when I realized that, yeah, hey, his way of doing things is really interesting. I can use that
Mm-hmm.
in not just game design, but in various form of storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
because with all this, another sort of inspiration is pro wrestling.
Interesting.
Because with Kisho Tenketsu and all that sort of stuff, it's because I have a lot of influences. The thing is, I have to like condense it into a few main taglines. So I have to
Mm-hmm.
choose the most like exotic or even the best selling ones. So with the pro wrestling, there's also the baby face shine, and then there's the come the enemy, the heel, sort of like counter, and after that, that is the baby face overcomes, and then could be a false finish. They tried something special. The false finish is that when the heel just comes back with something to stop them, and then final fight, you don't know who will win, who will lose. That
Mm-hmm.
is sort of like goes back and forth. That is very much the same as the Kisho Tenketsu storytelling. That is also, I guess, that's also why pro wrestling is really popular in Japan too.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought about pro wrestling that way, but it makes sense. I can see it now. For clarity, because you've brought it up a few times now, I want to try, but I'm gonna butcher it. That storytelling influence that you've mentioned already. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Where that came from? What exactly that is? How you use it?
Right. Well, it originates from the poem tradition, poetic tradition of the China's Tang Dynasty. It's used all over East Asia, pretty much. It was brought to Japan, Korea, and everywhere else. It is still used until today. It may sound weird and new. The thing is, it is being taught at all like primary schools. It is very common, in Asia.
Hmm.
And this Kisho Tenketsu is means start, rise, and then rise 10, and then 10 is a twist, and then cats over. So begin, rise, twist, and finish. The twist is where the interesting bit. Compared to the Western like three-part storytelling, uh, starts and then rise and then climax.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it's the Kishon 10 cats. 10 comes with an expected twist. The twist is sometimes the twist is that it benefits the players. player prevail, or sometimes the twist is the enemy prevail. So there is uncertainty there, there is danger there. You don't know who will pull out the twist first, or if there is a twist after the twist. So, for example, with the boss enemies, you can unleash their spirit burst. As one of the classes has a special ability called misdirect. So, all this powerful spirit burst is misdirected to another zone. So that's a twist after a twist. So you can create that sort of like that sort of uh, natural arc, narrative arc in just a combat or the situation. If your one of your party member has that misdirect ability but doesn't have enough spirit token, you can share your spirit token. So you pay one spirit token as transfer cost, and then gives them the rest of your spirit token, because we need this. We need to be able
Mm.
to withstand this enemy attack. So this is how you negotiate between players too. It creates a bit of like a sort of like a it helps them collaborate
Hmm.
pretty much.
Yes,
Or if
that's a key word for me: collaboration, creativity. Um, yeah, as I said, you've built a lot of mechanics in here that really facilitate a very narrative, very cinematic form of gameplay. Do you plan on? Let me ask first: is that something that is a shared weight for both players and GM? Is that something that everyone has onus to, or is that something that the GM needs to be, puppet mastering? And what sort of guidance may be in the Cloudbreaker Alliance book to help players and GMs consider and collaboratively tell stories this way?
okay, uh, it is mostly about mm, regards with a story, that sort of thing. It is kind of like how much are they willing to take on their destiny. There's a destiny's endpoint, because we usually attach a significance to weapons or objects. This is a magical sword from somewhere. You found this. It speaks to you. It wants you to save this ancient empire, bring it back from the grave, or at least find the last descendants of this once great dynasty. But if you are the player, I don't want to do this. So you don't take up this destiny. So it gives the players the choice how much destiny they want to fulfill. When the more weapons, or sometimes, or even story events, you can become the golden child of a certain like a cult. They think that you are the chosen one. You want to take on this destiny or not. You spend a bit of like no, you gain a bit of destiny's endpoint, uh, whether you want to take on this story,
Mm,
that sort of things. um, so the thing is that a destiny's endpoint can increase when you take more magical weapons, or if you want to take on certain events, or even when you return from the death. You can be resurrected here relatively easily. But the higher your destiny's endpoint, the more difficult it is to revive you.
mm,
And when you have 12 destiny's endpoint, you don't just die. You become an NPC, become a legend, pretty much.
interesting.
This is yeah. In most games, and some other games, it's like uh, people just gain more injury. um, and but the problem with that sort of design, this is just my personal opinion, I think that eventually the character gets worse and worse and worse until you don't like them anymore, and then you play another character. With this sort of like system, become more and more and more of a legend, and then you just becomes so legendary, you are not part of the uh, not part of the normal sort of like normal people anymore.
Hmm.
So you have graduated into something great. So that's a different sort of feeling.
Yeah, and I suppose that's another measurement that you can use for determining when your character is sort of removed from the story, which is usually considered a bad thing. If
Yep.
HP runs to zero, you fail your death saves or whatever the mechanic is in the game, that character is gone. Or if you
Mhm.
accumulate a certain number of stress points or sanity points, your
Mhm.
character has to leave or whatever the mechanic may be. So I really like what you just said in this game, where um, it can be a positive thing, but it's also another way that you can clearly see both character development and tension if you don't necessarily want to lose your character yet.
Yeah, and it also comes, with the way how you deal with final bosses, because I want final bosses to be really, really dangerous.
Mm.
So the thing is, if you want to deal with it the normal way, you just seal them away for another 100 years, or you just like find a way to tell them to leave or something like that. More of a like a weak resolution, but sometimes the players really want to defeat this boss to get rid of this evil once and for all. They can just uh, you know with the game master, they can say, I want to call upon the power of all my friends. So it's pretty much like a Dragon Ball where everybody
Hmm.
just give their energy to Spirit Bomb. So for every people you have bond with, they are going to will give you spirit tokens, additional spirit tokens, a massive pool of spirit tokens. You gain Destiny's endpoint. This is going to be the end of your story. So you are using all their resources, all your friendship, just to take down this boss, sort of thing.
Love it, love it. Now that's a great way to It, I just, yeah, I'm starting to fade. It's almost 4 in the morning. But no, I really like that game design. There's a lot to consider there. It really encourages collaboration. It encourages not just individual players, but the party to take their overall story in mind. So I really like that combination of being able to share resources and be able to say, I have these destiny endpoints, and this is how I want my story to be remembered. This is the climax of my character here. I really like that that's built into the game, because usually whether your character ultimately succeeds or dies, it's that
Mhm.
usually spells the end of the game, which is usually a sad thing, having to wrap up your story. So I like that the way that you uh, uh, presented it. That's the word I'm looking for. I like the way that you presented it, where it allows you to take that into your own hands and make it a celebration of the entire story. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of very creative mechanics and themes in Cloudbreaker Alliance that I really can't wait to explore more. I know I've only seen the basic combat rules, and you've already talked about a number of things that I haven't seen yet. So I can't wait to get my hands on this game at some point. But let's take a quick jaunt away from setting and gameplay. I think we talked about the setting quite a lot. Very vibrant setting that allows
Right.
that gives you an example of how
Mhm.
to add to it collaboratively. Add to that story. I love that idea of having a sort of player's compendium of all of the different people who played Cloudbreaker Alliance come together and share their worlds. I don't know if it's part of your plan, but you might want to think about setting up like a website forum or something like that, because I think that's a brilliant idea. Um,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I've always loved those games that have sort of the uh, that sort of public play continued experience sort of thing. I know Star Trek did that for a while. D&D, of course, has its own version of it. Uh, but I really like that part of the setting. The gameplay looks both simplistic but also very engaging, very robust and very versatile. Let's and we've seen a number of different stories. You've done a good job of really intermixing a lot of the separate questions I tend to ask into a very flowing description of this game. So let's jump ahead and talk a little bit about the Kickstarter itself. So Cloudbreaker Alliance is currently on Kickstarter right now, and that's going to stretch through August 31st. So you have this whole month to go check it out. I will have the link available to CJ's Twitter here, as well as the Kickstarter, and I believe you have your own standalone website, so I can include those in the description down below for you folks on YouTube in the future. But for now, Cloudbreaker Alliance on Kickstarter. Give us the sales pitch for that.
All right. Well, if what we have talked before earlier, sounds like your thing. Yeah, just consider looking at our Kickstarter. I'm a really bad salesperson. I'm more of a designer and all that sort of
No
thing.
worries. I sort of lobbed that one over my shoulder to you. More specifically, let's talk about what you can get from the Kickstarter. I see that you have it divided up between a number of different rewards that basically come down to whether you want just the PDF copy or the physical copy. But it looks like you have a number of other different goals and add-ons that you're looking to work towards.
That's That's correct. Well, because I have a sort of like a this animated tutorial channel. Don't stop thinking.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that we get also a professional voiceover person to do an animated tutorial to make it easy for everyone to learn. Because this game is designed to be played by everyone. So part of the thing is that once you get this game can just send your players a video and watch it like maybe a total of 15 minutes of just the basic rules and their class, total of 15 minutes, and they can already play. So because this is part of the problem that we are trying to solve, that is the pay to play sort of gap. Because a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people pay to buy a book or a sort of RPG, it takes them 3 months to start playing.
Mm-hmm.
So we want you to play this game. This is part of the reason. And as for the Kickstarter itself, all the money that goes to Kickstarter helps because you also get bonus as in otherwise you would have to pay separately, for all the little extras or the digital tokens and all that sort of things. Using the Kickstarter, you can pretty much get all the packages immediately right now, including all the stretch goals, including the extra sort of like uh, the extra life forms, extra enemies, and also a whole full campaign
Mm.
with the stretch goal.
Excellent, excellent. Yes. So just to let's see here. Yeah, just to detail it for anyone in the audience who might be interested in checking it out. Again, scroll down, head over to the Kickstarter, check it out yourself. Has a lot of great information on here. Everything, pretty much everything we've talked about and more, is on the Kickstarter page. As well as a fantastic tutorial, though that should be expected with what you do on YouTube. Uh, but let's take a look at what we have here. I'm looking at USD because it's what I'm used to. But the PDF version looks like it's going for about $26 USD, and the physical version of that, let me just check. That's going for 57 physical with the digital add-on. Excellent. Uh, and the artwork that you've shared already looks fantastic. I know that's a big selling point for a lot of people when they buy a new book. A nice, pretty, vibrant colored cover. I see you have a number of really nice illustrations and character art and tokens and whatnot on the Kickstarter. So very vibrant, very colorful, very evocative book. And we've already talked a little bit about the stretch goals, which was going to be my next question, but I believe we've covered them, and you've taken that up to a very ambitious final stretch
Mhm.
of
Right.
400,000 USD. I
Right.
appreciate the ambition there.
Right.
Uh,
Yep.
but yeah, being able to unlock new life forms, special
Mhm.
items, vehicles, I see here the tutorial video taken work away from me because that's something I do here, teach people games, but I
Uh,
appreciate that. I've seen some of your other tutorial videos, and they are fantastic and make me envious.
no,
um,
no, can always have additional tutorial videos. But the thing is,
yeah.
people reach a different sort of audience.
Mhm.
Because part of the 400,000, we are still trying to hash out this because we are going to prepare sort of a fund other people to translate that not just translate the in the language, but to uh, convert, sorry,
Mhm.
to convert their 5e third party 5e or like Pathfinder module into a Cloudbreakers module.
Mhm.
It is part of the 400,000, so that we can give them a bit of a fund. They can convert them. They still own all the rights, and this is part of the third party license. So we, just like the Cloudbreaker Alliance, they can't Cloudbreak alone. So this is part of the alliance.
Love it.
So we are setting up a bit of a like fun for everybody to be able to start their own setting and their own bit of like creativity too.
I love that idea. Love that idea. All right. So let's talk a little bit about fulfillment
Mm.
because yeah, it looks like you are actually at this point well past the 50% through on the Kickstarter, which is a great opening day. This it well, not opening day. It's been 2 days
Second day.
at this point. Second day. Time zones get a little wibbly wobbly
Right.
when we're talking
Yes, it
from
is.
the complete
Yep.
opposite
Yep.
side of the globe.
Right.
But you are more than halfway through, which is a great opening start to a successful Kickstarter. So when this game does fulfill, when this Kickstarter does complete
Mm.
successfully, what does the fulfillment process look like? When do you envision getting the final product out to your supporters?
Right. In our FAQ page, we have the products that we should be able to get it out by early next year. So on January, we will have the beta version out. This is the version, this is the first version that people will get to see. And at our reward page, we have a February release. That is the official release when we have finally finished all the checking, everything else. Once we have the official release, we will start printing. We already have talked to quite a few different like suppliers, some reputable ones, and we should be able to like send them out. We are also currently trying to find a few different like options for our fulfillment centers because we also have a friend locally who is doing the fulfillment for like trading cards, uh, like Vanguard or Duel Masters in Australia and the rest of the world, which so they may be able to help us. That's the sort of thing. Uh, but we are looking at a few options right now. But we have a default option if all the other options fall through.
All right, excellent. So that is looking like tentatively a February 2024 release then?
Yes, February 2024 release, and for the physical, it would be July, including all the extras.
Awesome. Awesome. Uh, excellent. Yeah, I really appreciate when creators give themselves enough time to make sure that they, can fulfill these things. I've talked to some creators, not necessarily anybody on the WIP Workshop channel, but I've talked to some creators who have fallen in the pitfall of being too ambitious with their timeline and having things fall apart. And we can see that going all the way up to like AAA video game companies. So I always tell creators and anyone I'm talking to, really give yourself enough time to make sure that you can iron everything out. Um, but a February digital and July physical sounds like a great timeline for a game like this. Excellent. Before we wrap things up, I just want to give you a little chance to, if you would like, shout out to some of your other team, because I see you are only one person of quite a nice team of other people who have helped you uh,
Mhm.
with your
Yeah.
design, with writing, with editing, artists. That's all listed on the Kickstarter. But do you have any shout outs, special thanks you'd want to say hi to anybody?
Uh, well, I would like to shout out quite a lot of people. All the people who helped me: Sunahara-san, Hakaki, Yumo, and uh, Daniel Kwan, Jackie Leung, and also um, uh, quite a few people, and also Plain Simple, Zedrin. It's so many people that I have helped with this project. It's just a lot.
Mm,
I wouldn't stop uh, I couldn't just stop thanking all the people who really helped me, because without them I really can't get anywhere. And even all the artists and everything, even the person who helped me with the audio setting
hmm
for the video trailer, really thankful for that, because he did a really good job with the video trailer for the Kickstarter. I was
hmm
really impressed. And yeah, just so many people is helping me. I feel really grateful and blessed.
Yes. Awesome, awesome. It takes a lot to put together something like this, and it's difficult to do it alone. So, well, from a new fan, thank you to the entire team for your work in putting this together and making it look like a beautiful book, both in illustration and in game design mechanics. I cannot wait to check it out. But the question I like to wrap up with is just what's next for you once you finish up Cloudbreaker Alliance, or at least get through this Kickstarter? Do you have anything cool on the horizon you want to tease?
Uh, Nothing especially that's out of Cloudbreakers, besides actually setting up the fund to help other, if we get to the right amount of stretch goal, we will help other creators to create their own Cloudbreaker supplement, creating a bit of fund and also all the resources. So I'm not going to jump away from Cloudbreaker Alliance so quickly, because I'm going to keep supporting people and just adding a bit more play materials to it, because
Excellent.
there's a bit of commitment to Cloudbreaker.
So there could be more Cloudbreaker coming down the line. This isn't a one and done book situation. Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, I think that covers about everything I generally cover. It has been a great time talking with you, CJ. I've thoroughly enjoyed looking over what you sent me. I can't wait to see more. I hope I've done it justice. I hope we've done it justice. With me over here at 4 o'clock in the morning, slowly fading. But I really enjoyed being able to talk with you tonight. Talking about Cloudbreaker Alliance. I can't wait to give it a try, see more about it. Everyone out there watching, thank you for watching, and go check out Cloudbreaker Alliance on the Kickstarter. That is currently active, currently funding, and will be through August 31st, or because it localizes the time zone, I see for me over in the East Coast US through September 1st. But for the next month, go and check out the Kickstarter. Drop what you can. It looks like a fantastic game. There's a lot of great information here and resources. And go check out CJ on YouTube with Don't Stop Thinking if you want some other really nice TTRPG resources and stories. And Cool History Bros if, like me, you're a history buff and just want to talk more about all the other history related influences for Cloudbreaker Alliance. But I think that is where we are going to call it for tonight. CJ, thank you so much for joining me for this WIP Workshop creator interview. I had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see what you come up with, and I can't wait to play this game when it releases.
My pleasure, and thanks a lot for having me.
Excellent, excellent. Well, as always, from the both of us, 14 hours apart. Happy time zone, folks. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, everyone. Cheers.